So the next thing we're going to work on is taking off the gascolator. We'll check the interior. We're going to drain it, see if there's any debris, water, rust, engine pieces, whatever. So I'll just go through taking this off. First thing first is taking off the drain bolt. Then we cut the safety wire here. I made a little bracket to hold the safety wire, which hopefully you can see right here. So I'll cut the safety wire, and once I take this bottom nut off, this bowl will just drop right down, and I have to be ready to catch any gasoline that comes out, because this whole thing should be full right now. So what I'll do first, I'll drain it into a container, which I have here, and we'll see how much comes out. With the fuel pump off, the engine's off, it should really just drain what's in the lines. That's how much I got. Might be a little more when I take this apart, so I'll be ready to catch it. And then this container is clean, so this can go back in the gas tank. So this is just an AN fitting and a bent up piece of pipe to get the drain to come out where I need it to. Cut the wire. All right. I'll trim up that safety wire after I get this off. So there's the drilled nut that holds the bolt in place. I'll put new safety wire on, obviously. Now I drop this down. Yep. And we do, sure enough, we get a little more gas out. And here's the washer. This is a kind of fancy washer with a rubber on it. If this fails, this is gascolators from Cessna, so I can get replacement, overhaul kits, which I did once before. So now's where we start looking at things. So let me get this back on. So let's take a look, see what we can see. So the bottom looks good. There's a little bit of rust and pitting at the bottom, but I don't see any debris floating around. I'm gonna wipe that with a paper towel and see what comes out. Yep, just some gasoline smell and no new dirt. Next thing is the screen. If you look, you can actually see stuff behind. You can see right through it to the engine, which tells me that there is no debris in here, even visible, measurable, not even just an acceptable amount. It's like zilch. And that's actually been a trend with this airplane, is that the fuel system is always very clean. Anytime I drain the fuel, sump the tanks, all I get is fuel. No particles, no rust. One time in the entire career of the airplane, I had about this much water, rusty water at the bottom of the fuel tester when I drained the gascolator. And that was obviously from a source. My fuel caps, they don't leak. As far as I can tell, no rainwater gets in. And the airplane is hangared, so it's not going to collect a lot from the rain. So now, inspection complete. The O-ring is in the groove where it belongs. So I'm just going to cut off the old safety wire, get ready for new safety wire. Okay. And obviously when you take safety wire, don't just throw it on the ground, keep track of it, because you don't want this getting stuck in your tire and giving you a flat. So there's all the safety wire accounted for. I got a nice little pile there. Drop this, and that's it. Once again, I'll make sure this is clean. Looks good. There's an O-ring here, which actually I'm going to take that out and take a look. It looks a little bit cut. So this O-ring seals against the nut. Oh, here it is. Here's the washer with a lip on it. It's not, the O-ring doesn't go here. The O-ring sits in this washer, which goes in the bottom, and that's what keeps everything clean and tight. So I will slip this on after I get this up there. But I was inspecting the O-ring. It looks good. It's got a few little squeeze marks, but so this goes up here. This one goes up. Oh, just so everybody understands, the fuel comes from the engine pump here. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Fuel comes in the back. It's mounted to the wall here. Fuel comes in the back, into the bowl, up through the bowl, through the screen, and then out to the engine here. So this is the outlet of the fuel pump, outlet of the fuel strainer. So this screen is clean. This is clean. So I'm confident we're fine here. So this bowl goes back on. Make sure it's seated up tight. This O-ring goes on. Then the washer with the lip. There we go. I can see the washer's up closed now. And then the drilled nut, which will get safety wired. Rotate that, make sure everything is seated nicely. This is where it's possible to tighten it up. It feels like you got it, but then you run it and it wasn't seated properly, so it just leaks. So obviously this is not a structural item, so you don't go nuts with the tightening. I'm just gonna come around far enough so I can get the safety wire on it. So there's my safety wire hole. There's my safety wire, which I've had since the 1980s. Still haven't gone through this container, but obviously the plastic coat's seen better days. Through my anchor point on the firewall. Just manually start the first couple of twists. So just twist it around by hand like this. Okay, that's enough. Figure out my length. Stand up for this. Safety wire pliers. That's right about there. Grab it just about even with the nut. I'm going to support it here so I don't destroy things. See how that looks? Need about 2 more turns. Two more. Get through. Twist up the other side. Ouch. Cut it. Bend it over so I don't stab myself later. And we're still recording? Yes. So now here is the safety wire all done. Pretty decent. And all I got to do now is put that drain line back on, and we're happy with the gascolator. To loosen this up, just get this rotated to about the angle I want. Okay, that's tight, that's tight. Bowl is secure, job done. Just gotta throw out the safety wire so I don't poke anybody in the eye, and this fuel can go back in the tank. So we're going to start doing some of the engine internals now. We're going to take out the spark plugs, inspect them, check their gaps, check their condition, and then we're going to do a borescope inspection of the cylinders, take a look at the valves, valve stems, valve seats, see what kind of condition they're in. So for this, I need a spark plug wrench for the NGK spark plugs that go with the electronic ignition. This is the adapter socket. It's been ground down. This will take out the spark plug adapter, which is just a brass fitting, which you'll see. And then to do the borescope, I've got a borescope from Oasis Scientific. Where's the model? You can get a look at that. This is hooks up to a USB port. So I've got my laptop here, so I'll be able to use the camera function on a laptop to get pictures and videos of the insides of the cylinders. So we'll start by pulling everything off. So these spark plug boots are just held on by spring clips. They just lift right off, hopefully with a good snap. You hear that? Same for the bottom, because we're going to look at all 12 spark plugs today. Okay. And by the way, this is a reference document from Savvy Aviation, which is recommended steps for doing borescope analysis. That's one down, 11 to go. So we're going to check the condition of this. It's a fine wire spark plug, so the electrode comes to a point. Hopefully you can see that on there. The color looks pretty good. So we'll just pull off the rest of these. I use anti-seize anytime I put the spark plugs in, because especially with this brass adapter fitting, sometimes they can get stuck together. I don't bother keeping them in order because on old magneto engines, the top and bottom spark plugs fare differently. Typically, the bottoms tend to foul sooner and have more soot buildup. But this electronic ignition is such a hot spark that all the spark plugs come out good just about every time. There's never been a fouled spark plug on this airplane. I don't have to lean it for taxi, nothing like that. Okay, next one. Once again, good condition. Let's take a look so we can get it on camera here. See how that looks. So you look at the color, it's brown, but that's fine. It's not no oil, no globs of lead built up in there. 2 down, 10 to go. So here's an example where the spark plug adapter came off with the spark plug. So this is the brass adapter, and I'll just have to get a wrench here and here to separate those two things. It's important to make sure all your washers are accounted for. The washers on the spark plugs are captive, so this guy's not coming off. However, the traditional copper spark plug is not captive, so I want to make sure I know where it is. It could be still stuck in the cylinder, so you don't want to lose that. You got to go shop around for more, all that. So put that aside so it doesn't get lost. That's 6 down, 6 to go. So I'll pull off the other 6, and then we'll start setting up for internal inspection. Okay, so we're going to do the borescope inspection proper today. I've got all the materials together, tools and supplies. I think I mentioned earlier, I'm going to use a checklist from Savvy Aviation. This has recommendations for how to shoot pictures So we're talking about getting the piston crown, getting various angles on the valves and valve stems, intake and exhaust. And then additionally, they recommend you get pictures of the cylinder, top, bottom, left, and right. So we're going to go through that sequence with the borescope. I'm going to start recording in a minute, but first I'm on the left side of the engine. So these are cylinders 2, 4, and 6. So I'll start with number 2, do these 3, and then go across and do the other side. I have a brass rod I use for finding top dead center or bottom dead center. Since it's relatively soft, I'm not going to worry about gouging the piston. So I put this in, rest it against the piston bottom, rest it against the piston top, and as I move the propeller, I can feel where it hits the bottom and then starts to come up again. So that's about bottom dead center there. So I've got my borescope here, which is plugged into a laptop. So I'm going to shoot a video so you get a feeling for what the inside looks like. So I'm going to start recording in a minute. Okay, so it's recording now. You can kind of get a view. There's the outside world. This air coming out represents the top of the borescope, and when you push the plunger on the back, the head curls back so you can see various angles. So I'm going to go around. I'm going to keep an eye on the laptop while we're shooting. This side's probably better. And start going in. There's the top. You can see where I touched it with the brass rod, but those scratches are inconsequential. It's not actually gouging anything. It's just freshening up the face of the piston. Pulling out a little bit, you can see those deposits on the sides. That's just carbon buildup and lead deposits. And if you were to run this engine and then do this test again, it would look completely different. These just burn off and redeposit every time you fly the plane. Now the intake and exhaust valves, here's my intake port, and my exhaust port is on the other side. So you actually have to look left and right. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. I'm going to start pushing the curl back all the way to the bottom. So I get a good view. Keep going back. So there you can see the spark plug hole where the rod is going through. We're looking at myself essentially right now. Rotate a little more. And this is the tricky part, is it works upside down from what you might expect. So there's the face of the exhaust valve. So here you're looking for concentric rings, which I never seem to get. But the main thing you worry about is discoloration at the edges. So you don't want any green tint there. The next photo will be trying to get the shot of the edge of the exhaust valve. So I'm going to pull out. You can kind of see the exhaust valve is partly extended. I may have to rotate the crankshaft. And we take a look at the intake. Tap it the right way. Release that. So the intake valves always look nice and clean because they have a cool, fresh fuel air mixture coming in all the time. So they generally last a long time. It's the exhaust valves that you really got to keep an eye on. So that's a quick summary of what a borescope looks like. I'm going to take a whole bunch of still photos now. There's my cylinder wall. You can see oil buildup, which is normal at any of these engines. That tends to pool at the bottom. Unless your engine is absolutely brand new, you're going to have some amount of blow by with oil accumulating in the cylinder and then burning off. Here's the cylinder wall. It's hard to see, but let me see if I can change the brightness. Darken it up, brighten it. You can see a little bit of cross-hatching left. It's pretty well polished, as I've said before. This is a mid-time engine, so it's hardly surprising that you're going to see a normal amount of wear. Let's back out, try and get some of the focus. Okay, we're back on the piston crown. There's a mark from the factory, WA, whatever that means. Going around, there's a close-up of the piston crown. Then that's a reflection of the light coming off. So there we are, and that's basically a quick preview of what the inside of a cylinder looks like. And there's my engine. So this is an issue I noticed when I first took off the baggage tunnel access panel here, was that one of the nuts had come off. This is the attitude heading reference system, and this nut was missing here, this guy. So I replaced it, but when I tightened it down, I really can't get a good lock on it. The reason for this is that the stud is too short. You can see there should be some thread showing, and it tightens down, it bottoms out before you're able to get fully tightened into the locking portion. The reason for this is that this bracket has to be leveled to the airplane. So you jack the airplane up, you put a level across the canopy sill with a digital level to get a real precise reading, and then you add washers above, because I had to lower this side a little bit to get this thing to read 0, so the ball would be centered when the airplane was sitting level, and the attitude indicator would also show that the airplane was sitting level. So when I added the washers up top, it took away some of the length of that stud, which is bonded to the ceiling of the airplane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap out the stop nut or nylock for plain old school washers, and I'm going to use lock washers, number 8 lock washers, and plain nuts, plus some good old-fashioned Loctite, just to make sure everything stays where it's supposed to. So I'm going to fix that now. I'm going to do both the front and back, because the back nut here also doesn't have really enough thread showing. So it's a pretty easy fix. So I'm going to swap that out. Okay, so we're wrapping up now. I'm just about finished with the condition inspection. Went through all the stuff on the checklist. I've got just about everything marked off. There's always going to be a few things that are not applicable. Some things you only do every other year. So right now I'm satisfied with the way things turned out. I made some thunders. Afternoons in Florida. So I made some minor repairs. I just found 1 or 2 little things that actually were discovered in annual, which was a nut that had worked loose, and a click bond that had come unbonded from the side of the fuselage back in the tail cone, so I put that back on. That's about it. So next things will be put the cowling back on, we'll run the engine, do a test flight, and then I can fill out the logbook, make my entry saying that the airplane is certified for airworthiness condition, and I have a sticker that I've made up, so it's just easier to get all the wording printed rather than try and write all this out by hand. So now the next thing, I'm going to put the cowling back on. So that was one of the first things I did in these videos, and we will try that next. We'll do that. I'll try and get that on time lapse or something. So if I don't talk to you again soon, I'll see you in the air. So I'm going to put the bottom cowling back on. It's easier to do this with 2 people, but I'll demonstrate how you can do it by yourself. Going to need a long Phillips head, and I've got my clip to hold the nose gear doors at the right angle. So the secret when lining up the bottom cowling is that you want to get it just ahead of the nose gear doors and just aft of the spinner. So you bring it as far back as you can from this angle. So it's just about touching the nose gear leg. Try and bring it up level. Grab that screwdriver, which I placed. 1 screw on each side. Now I can relax. I gotta remember I got 10 of these 1/4 turn fasteners to do. 4 on each side, 2 in the front. So once I do the count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 in the front, 4 on each side. I haven't missed any. And now I'm done with the nose gear clip. So I can take this guy out. This is all set. This goes back in the toolbox that I carry around with me in the back of the plane. The next thing will be to connect the sides of the cowling. So this uses the 2 short ones, short hinge pins. So what you do is raise it up, apply a little back pressure with your right hand, and you can feed this in. Same thing for the other side. And now the bottom cowling is complete. Top cowling, I'll set it in place, attach the back hinge pin, then the sides, and then close up the front, and the cowling's on. Again, you want to get just behind the spinner. And often what happens here is it hangs up on the baffle seals. You just got to reach up under here, make sure these are folded over the right way. Open the access door. And we'll line up the back hinge first. Leave the front a little bit high because it takes the stress off the hinge pin, makes it easier to slide in. And then along the back is the long L-shaped hinge. So I'm going to reach with my right hand, pull back, put a little pressure on the cowling. It's going in, I can feel it. Now, sometimes I have to tap down the cowling to get the hinge loops to seat on the right side, on the left side. That's it. Okay, going. Just a little stiff at the end. Okay, so the rear hinge is done. There's 2 hinge pins left. Now I can close this little gap at the front. And these are the long hinge pins which go along the side hinge of the cowling. There's one thing to note here. I'm going to line up the bottoms. You can see that there are 2 different lengths. That shows up correctly because the engine mount cants the motor 1 degree to the right. This is to make up for left turning tendency that all propeller airplanes have. So because it's to the right, the left side of the cowl is longer than the right side, so the longer one goes on the left. So I'll take the long one. So I just feed it through here. You can feel kind of a zipper feel as you pull it together. Sometimes you give it a little tap on the cowling, make it move smoothly. Same thing for the right side. I like to stand backwards and pull it towards me. That seems to work better. So I flex it a little to keep it away from the spinner. You don't want to hear that clank sound. Scratching up the knee. Sometimes it'll get a little stiff towards the end. One thing you want to be super careful, if you're going to push it, make sure you slip and bend it. Try and hold it, support it like this. If it starts killing your fingers, and we'll use the Allen wrench to help us. So I'm going to grab my screwdriver because I'm going to need that in a second. So these tools, again, this is kind of unique to the airplane, the Allen and the extractor tool. So I keep those in the toolbox. So what I'll do is I'll feed the Allen key into the head of the threaded insert, and then I'll just push real carefully and support it just to make sure I don't slip and bend it. Go in, and then I screw it in. Then get an angle on this for you. So one secret about when it comes to screwing it in is don't go too far, because there's a pretty sharp curve here. You can see how the cowling curves here. So this thing is constantly being bent around as I rotate it. So it doesn't need to disappear. Flush with the end is more than far enough to put it in. You can tighten the screw over here. And that is it. Oh, almost 2 more little screws to go in. So in the bag, when I was first taking the cowling off, I've got 2 1/4 turn fasteners, which are these guys. These go in the front to keep the cowl from vibrating against itself. And these just use a regular Phillips head. Okay, So guys, thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful. I think it's stuff about the airplane that I've never really documented. It's things you know as a builder, but if someone were to ever take ownership of this plane after me, I think this set of videos would be very helpful. So once again, see you in the air.